Sit right back, the time is now. Tammy's gonna show you how to cook it up like Mama used to do. Well, she makes it easy. She shows you tricks before too long and all real quick.
Okay, I got this as a gift, and it's a chopper. How wonderful is that? So with my apples, I'm using it to chop my apples. And it has different sizes that you could put in here. I have one, but it's not near this nice. So thank you, Super Woody Boy. I have one I got when my kids were babies. So these are big pieces of apple. And I had some really small pieces of apple in here. And so I'm just going to combine the two of them. This is going to be apple bread. We're going to put some nuts in it and a few raisins. Now this is a lemon that came from our neighbor's tree. And I'm just going to put a little lemon juice on these apples so that they don't turn before we can get to doing something with them. Okay? Just massage that in there a little bit. All right. Now I'm going to take some raisins and toss them in a little flour. And of course, you can omit this raisins if you don't want raisins in your bread. We're going to put some chopped pecans in here with them. And we're just tossing them in a little flour, hoping that that will keep them from sinking to the bottom of our bread. But regardless, it's going to taste good. I've also got the oven turned up to 400. I'm going to start it out at 400 degrees. Try to get this fruit set in the cake before it falls as well. So if you'll turn your temperature up at the very beginning of the bake time, and then you have to remember to turn it down. It helps that get set up in the cake before it will fall down to the bottom. All right, this is going to be pretty simple. We're going to start with 2 eggs. And I'm just going to mix it up with a spoon. 2 eggs. Three-quarter cup. I'm going to go ahead and make it a cup. We'll make it good. A cup of sugar, brown sugar. Half cup of oil. Now I'm using oil because I want to mix it up by hand. If you want to use room temperature butter, you can. But if you do that, of course, you need to use a hand mixer to get it mixed up because it's cold in the house today. So my butter is not that soft right now. Now we're going to add a half cup of sour cream. All right, a lot of you guys watch us that are in the UK and other areas, and you can't get buttermilk. Even in the United States, some people can't. You can always use some sour cream in place of buttermilk because it's got that sour taste, and it's wet enough. You could use it. I think it'd be really good in a lot of recipes. So we're going to use a half cup. I buy that squeeze thing because me and Chris usually don't eat enough sour cream to get the container, and it's usually a little bit cheaper than the container. So we're going to mix this up. Sour cream, eggs, brown sugar. With that brown sugar in there, you don't even have to add vanilla. But if you want to, let's go ahead and add some. This is going to be some good bread, y'all. Yummy, yummy. All right, we're going to use a teaspoon of cinnamon. And if you want to use apple pie spice, you can, if you have some. Does that look good? Now all we got to do is put our flour in here, and then after that, we're going to fold in our fruit. I'm using self-rising flour, so I'm going to use 2 cups of flour. We'll make this a big recipe. And this is a bread, so if you wanted it as sweet as a cake, you would have to add a little more sugar. But remember that your fruit is going to add some sugar to it too. So this is more like a bread. And I'm making a mess. I'm going to add 1 more egg since I used 2 cups of flour. The sugar's fine. And the oil should be fine because we've got all the apples that are going to go in here. But I'm going to mix this in there real quick. If you want to use 2 eggs, you can use the same ingredients and just use 1.5 cups of flour if you want to. If you don't have self-rising flour and all you got is plain flour, then you just Google how much salt and baking powder to add to it. You would add salt and baking powder to it, okay? But I never use it, so I don't know. I know the salt, but I don't know the baking powder. It's a 1/2 teaspoon of salt per cup of flour, but I can never remember the baking powder part. So now we're going to add the fruit, and I'm just kind of taking my hands and letting most of that flour fall back down in the bowl that's not being used. And now we're going to add the apples. And you need a good couple of cups of apples. Let's just add them all. This is going to be a real chunky, delicious bread. This is a big recipe. So you could actually put this in a Bundt pan if you want to. And it's going to take it about an hour to cook because of all the fruit in it. See how many apples are in there? You can never get apple bread at the store like that. And remember, that's a lot of sugar going into the recipe as well. So that's why you just have 1 cup of sugar per 2 cups of flour. All right, since I used a 2-cup recipe, I've decided to put this in a Bundt pan because it's a lot of dough. So I would really use a Bundt pan or a tube pan, okay? Not the one that the middle comes out of, but just a solid Bundt or tube pan, okay? If you want to make it in a loaf pan, then make it in 2 different ones, okay? You don't want to fill it any more than 3/4 full or it's liable to come up and rise and make a mess in the oven. All right, so we're going to spray this really good over here at the sink. Make sure you spray it really good because you've got fruit in the cake and it tends to want to go to the bottom and then it's liable to try to stick. So just do a really good job of greasing your pan. This will start baking at 400 degrees for 20 minutes. And then we're going to turn the oven down to 350 and it'll bake an hour. So 20 minutes at 400, 40 minutes at 350. All right, let's get this in here. See a little bit. We're hungry to eat ya. That's going to be delicious. Our bread is ready, and boy, the whole house smells so good. Y'all, this is going to be delicious. All right, y'all, the whole house smells so good. This is going to be so chock full of apples. It's going to be so delicious. So if you like the apple fritters, you're really going to like this bread. I think it'll be even better. Look at that thing. Looks pretty. All right, we're going to let it cool a little bit. And if you want to, you could glaze it because this is going to be a very delicious bread. Do you want me to put a glaze on it, Chris?
I don't know. I mean, if we eat it for breakfast, we could just put a little, toast it, put a little butter on it or whatever.
Oh, yeah,
or
we
just,
could.
I don't think it's...
I think it's
let's
going
see
to be...
how,
I think it's going to be so delicious either way.
Yeah, let's see how sweet it is.
All right, I'm going to cut a piece while it's still smoking.
Man, it looks good.
I know it does, don't it?
We get apple bread a lot of times and cinnamon bread for
Yeah,
toast.
we do. We buy it. And it's so expensive, ain't it, Chris?
Oh yeah, it is.
It's like $5 a loaf, $6 a loaf sometimes.
Yeah, and it's a little bitty loaf, ain't it?
And they don't hardly put any apples in it.
Yeah.
And this is going to be chock full of apples, y'all. I just used my bread knife, so I used my bagel knife. I use Rada knives. And so if you're interested in my knives, that's where I get them. Ooh, it's hot. Looks good. Ooh, that's hot, y'all. Boy, look at those apples and raisins and pecans. Now that looks good. Look at all those apples. All right, now for tasting. Y'all, this is so good. It is one of the best things I've had in a long time. Oh my goodness. You can really taste the apples and just a hint of cinnamon. And it's just right with sugar to me. It's not real sweet. So it's not like a sweet cake or muffin. But boy, is it absolutely. I wouldn't change one thing about this recipe. Mmm. The pecans are toasty. Now, if you want to use walnuts and save some money, you can. Just make sure that your nuts are fresh. When you open up the package of a nut, like pecans and walnuts, if you smell in it and it smells oily, they're going to taste oily. They should not be oily tasting, okay? This is just absolutely the bomb. We'll see you next time on Collard Valley Cooks, where we cook good food like Mama did. Bye, y'all. Love ya.
Cooking time, it's over now. Tammy, she just showed you how to cook it up like Mama used to do. So go on out and have some fun. Now you're getting dinner done with Collard Valley Cooks, your number one. Collard Valley Cooks, ain't we having fun? Collard Valley Cooks, we're getting
This is going to start out at 400 degrees. This will start baking at 400 degrees for 20 minutes. And then we're going to turn the oven down to 350 and it'll